Hello everybody, and welcome back to Evolving Vibes, the community for witches, pagans, spiritualists, and everybody in between. So welcome back. For today's video, I thought I would do a little touch-up on shadow work. We haven't really touched base on shadow work in a very long time, and I continue to use my day planner as my work for shadows. Recording day-to-day activities, but along with that, recording different responses and reactions that might have been elicited out of me throughout the day. And obviously, some things I might have done to change a reaction to a response instead. So all that being said, today what I thought I would do is actually just talk about shadow work as it pertains to each sign. So each astrological sign very specifically has their own types of shadow work that they could focus upon, and I thought that might be helpful. So we're going to be doing that today, and be mindful of the fact that it is in no particular order. I'm just actually putting together the signs as well as some shadow work prompts for you guys to consider. If it resonates with you, take it and run with it, and if it doesn't, leave it behind as always, right? So let's get started into this. So to start off with the shadow work as it pertains to the sign, we're going to start off with prompts for Pisces. And again, they're in no particular order whatsoever. So as a Pisces, some of the shadow work you could consider doing starts off with what am I running from? Or what am I avoiding within my life? Another thing to consider would be, do I actively listen to and follow my heart? And if yes, why? And if not, why not? How can I stand up for my dreams and my desires? How can I cultivate a better balance between giving as well as receiving? So a few different prompts for Pisces to consider. As we finish off Pisces, let's get into Aquarius. And I said they're not, as I said, they're not in any type of order, so they're definitely not in alphabetical order, right? So for Aquarius, what kind of shadow work prompts could we consider? First and foremost, what limiting beliefs do I feel ready to detach myself from? Another one to consider, when have I judged or held back my emotions, right? Another to consider, where am I holding myself back in life due to fears of others' judgments? And we should never hold ourselves back because we're fearful of being judged by others, right? So this is a very strong one for Aquarius to consider. And finally for Aquarius, how can I use my natural skills to contribute to the world? And that world could be the world in general, or it could be your very specific world, your family, your friends, your intimate relationships, different things of that to consider. So that is an assignment for Aquarius to consider, different prompts that they might want to utilize to help them through their shadow work. Now let's talk a little bit about Capricorn and different prompts Capricorn may want to consider for shadow work. First comes up is, what did authority figures in my life teach me, for better or for worse, right? How has my past made me a better person today? And really focus upon that, because a lot of times we try to bury our past, but we sometimes forget to look at our past, good, bad, or indifferent, and see how it brought us to where we are actually in this moment today. Another one to consider, what do I need to release in order to build what I actually desire? Pretty deep, right? And finally, for Capricorn, what emotions have I been repressing that are ready to be expressed? And when we're talking about emotions, that can be really, really powerful. And what we repress, we absolutely express in a lot of different manners. So if we can take these emotions that we keep repressed and find a functional, healthy way of expressing them, even if it's going in the woods like here and just screaming your ass off, that is going to be very helpful and very soothing and very strong in the development of who we are becoming. So Capricorn, there's some work for you to do, right? Now that we finished Capricorn, let's march on over to Libra and some shadow work prompts for Libra. To start off with, in what areas of my life do I feel I'm censoring myself. And since self-censoring can be a lot of different things for a lot of different people, but what areas of your life are you actually not being your true self, and you're allowing filters that maybe others put on you, but filters that you may be putting upon yourself for others? And so in what areas do you feel like you're censoring yourself, and how can you change that? Another consideration for Libra: in what chapter in my life am I ready to leave behind? So we all go through chapters in our lives, right? They have natural beginnings as well as natural endings. Now, the goal of each chapter in our life is to literally live it, experience it, take the lessons learned out of it, as well as all of the benefits, and move forward. However, to leave behind the weight, the luggage, the emotions, and all of these different things that serve us no real strong good behind as well. Libra sometimes tends to carry that whole chapter over, the weight, the heaviness of it all. And this is important for us to look at and say, what am I going to leave behind me? Things that don't serve me any purpose, and things that are not resonating with me. So that's a strong consideration, as is this next one. What boundaries do I need to create in my relationships? That relationship can be intimate, that can be friendship, that can be work relationships. But it's important to consider, what boundaries do you want to create in each relationship? And finally for Libra, how can I cultivate a deeper sense of self-worth? And that's most important, because each and every one of us, we have to have a strong sense of self-worth. And that comes from cultivation. That comes from saying, this is what I value. This is what my personal worth is to me. And once you have that value attached to that self-worth, that allows other people to also value it too. So very deep, very important shadow work prompts for Libra. Now that we've spoken of Libra, let's talk a little bit about Scorpio and some shadow work prompts that Scorpio may want to consider as well as benefit from. First and foremost, what cycles are culminating for me within my life? What's building up? What's actually starting to develop for you? And how are those cycles going to affect moving forward, right? Along with that, what cycles am I repeating in my life that don't serve me any strong good? Another consideration for Scorpio: what patterns am I willing to transform, and how? That's pretty deep, right? So we all have patterns in our life. Some patterns are very positive, some patterns are very non-positive. And so for Scorpio, it's time to dissect patterns and decide which ones do you want to transform into positive, and which positive ones do you want to transform into amazing ones, right? So very strong to consider. Another prompt for Scorpio: where in my life am I prone to excess? And where am I holding back? Pretty strong, pretty deep, right? So where in your life are you actually putting a lot of energy and a lot of personal access into? And that can be partying, that can be work, that can be a lot of different things. It's up to you to decide which ones are a little bit excessive, but along with that, which areas of your life are you actually holding back in? And that could be self-motivation, that could be anger, that could be excitement, that could be love. A lot of different things, but it's up to you, the Scorpio, to consider. Another consideration for Scorpio: which emotions within me are ready to be felt and fully expressed? Sometimes Scorpio tends to hold everything in. This is a strong prompt for you to look at that deeply and really focused upon, and determine which emotions are you really, really, really ready to fully be felt and fully express? Because again, and you've heard me say it a million times, what we repress, we tend to express in a lot of other ways. So Sagittarius did not forget you. So let's talk about some shadow work prompts for the Sagittarius. When we look at that, first and foremost, what aspects of my life do I desire to improve? Now, write them down. Think about the areas in your life that you want to improve. Put them down inside your book on a piece of paper, whatever it might be. But along with putting them down, develop an action plan, because intentions without actions are just wishes, correct? So write down those ideas, what you want to improve, but also put down 2 or 3 different actions you can take immediately to improve those aspects. Another consideration for Sagittarius: what values and principles do I want to align my life to? And again, writing them down, but along with that, putting some action behind those goes a long, long way. Another consideration for Sagittarius: what actions am I willing to take to change my life for the better? If you noticed, actions comes up yet again, and it's important to consider that. Where am I being too excessive or too restrictive within my life? Be honest with yourself, write them down, and look at what you might be able to do to change those, to bring things more into balance, correct? Okay, this one hits close to home because I am a Virgo. I'm a double Virgo, if you will. I was born on September 22nd at like 5:30 in the morning. So I've got a lot of different complications going on with my sign. But all that being said, let's talk about some of the shadow work prompts for the Virgo. In what area of my life is my conditioning holding me back? And I've been doing this a lot, and trust me, I've got a list going right now, and I'm still trying to do actions with it. Now, one thing to consider, like with every prompt in here for all the signs, don't get frustrated if you start moving forward, but then you take a couple of steps back because of a situation or an incident. It happens, so don't let yourself be frustrated or put things off because of it. Another prompt for the Virgo: what repetitive patterns am I ready to break through? And I sort of chuckled on that one because that really hits home with me, with patterns and how I sort of repeat things and how I've been working hard to break through that. Now, I've been successful in some parts, and I've been not so successful in other parts. And that's okay, because all of this is a work in progress. Another prompt for the Virgo: where could I be more spontaneous and playful? And again, I'm chuckling inside because that hits home in a lot of different ways. But as a Virgo, we tend to be very organized, very, very linear, and very list-driven. Sometimes it's better to be spontaneous. One of the things I'm doing right now, being outside and recording this video, is, believe it or not, being spontaneous. I decided I wanted to do it outdoors, and I wanted to do it here versus where I usually do it inside. So yay for Brian, I did one thing spontaneous today. But my goal for today is to do 3 spontaneous things. So I got one out of the way. Another prompt for the Virgo, for the shadow work, is which daily habits support my well-being and which ones do not? Be honest with yourself, write them down, and again, put some action plans into play so that you can actually develop more healthy habits for your well-being, but along with that, take away some of the habits that you have right now that don't support your well-being. And your well-being is for yourself, but along with that, your well-being for relationships and your relationships with others, whether it be work, intimate, or friendships, right? So Virgos, my fellow Virgos, we have some homework to do. Hey Leo, talking to you next. So let's talk about some of the prompts that Leos could have to work on doing shadow work. Where am I shrinking for fear of being too much? Write it down. Okay, where am I actually holding myself back because I'm fearful of being a whole load of too much? And why? Write it down. Why do I feel that way? And what can I do to get past that? Another prompt for Leo, what limiting beliefs are holding me back? Maybe part of that limiting belief is feeling you're too much, right? So consider that, and again, consider what actions you might be able to take to get rid of some of those limiting beliefs. Another consideration for Leo, what fears am I being called to confront? All of us in our lives, whatever fears we have throughout our lives, we have different aspects that we get called out on to try to break through those fears. And that happens with all of us, including me. So that being said, write down and be cognizant of the fact that the universe is actually confronting you on your fears, calling you out on your fears, and asking you to break through those fears. And I promise you, as you start recognizing some of these patterns and some of these prompts, the universe will have your back, and you can break through these fears with the assistance of the universe. Sometimes our fears come through, right? Sometimes our fears come true. And that's okay, because when our fears do come true and we're dealing with them, we still break through them. We still have the ability to realize, I've been fearful of this all my life. It actually happened, and I managed it. I don't have that fear any longer. Now, another strong thing to consider for Leo, what am I willing to let go of to make space for what I want to create, what I want to manifest? So it's important to look at, what am I willing to get rid of in order to make space for the things that I truly want in my life? Write them down. Write down why it'd be okay to get rid of them. Write down how it'd be okay to get rid of them. And also write down the benefits of packing them up and throwing them away, and how that's going to make room for other more important things in your life. This brings us to Cancer. And I said before, they're in no actual order, so just bear with me on that. But shadow work prompts for Cancer. First and foremost, when have I felt judged for being overly sensitive? Write down the situation. Write down some of the things that you felt you were being judged upon, and write down why you felt you were being overly sensitive. And then look at it clinically and say, is it true? Was I being overly sensitive? If so, why was I being overly sensitive? What intrinsically in me created this oversensitivity? And how might I break through that going forward if faced with a very similar circumstance? Another consideration, what emotions am I not allowing myself to express? And again, what we repress, we express in other ways, right? So take a strong, hard look at that and try to determine what emotions currently you might be repressing. Along with that, what emotions previously have you repressed? And how were they expressed in other manners? Because looking at how things come out from a repressed standpoint to an expressed standpoint will help you identify how unhealthy it is to repress things and how they've come out in various situations in another manner. Another consideration for the Cancer, what places within me do I need to reparent? I haven't brought this up yet, but it's a lot of what shadow work is also working at healing the inner child. So that being said, for Cancer, try to determine what places that are going on right now within you that you may need to look at, along with that, reparent, and just sort of come to terms with that inner child that may need that parent figure right now to help bring them to that next level. Another consideration for Cancer, what parts of myself am I willing to love more? Part of the human experience is very challenging for us, which is self-love and self-care. And the reason for that is, growing up as children, we heard, that's being selfish, you're being selfish, don't be selfish. But the reality of it is, we have to have our first priority as ourselves. We're our longest standing relationship. We're always going to be there for ourselves. Along with that, we have our own deep, dark secrets that nobody in this world knows about. So we got to learn to not only self-love, but self-care. As we make ourselves happy, as we learn how to develop our own self-love and self-value, that's when we're able to bring that love towards others. No one in this world can make us happy, and no one in this world can love us like we do. If we truly make ourselves happy, if we truly love ourselves, it's so much easier to love others and to make others happy, and vice versa. We should never rely on other people to make us happy or to make us feel loved. That has to come intrinsically from within. Now, let's talk a bit about shadow work for Taurus. What prompts does Taurus want to consider, and what prompts my Taurus benefit from? So first and foremost, what old values am I ready to let go of? What values no longer serve us? What values never really served us? What values did we learn as a child that it's time for us to let go of and to unlearn? Another area, what areas of my life feel stagnant? If you're feeling stagnant, that's a sense of spiritual boredom. It's time to look at that and say, why do I feel stagnant? What do I need to do to change that feeling? How can I move past it? How can I move forward? Another aspect to consider, where in my life do I feel the strongest resistance to change? Write that down. That is deep and that is big. If you're feeling resistant to change in areas of your life, look at that. Maybe it's based on fear. Maybe it's based on feeling stagnant. Maybe it's based upon values that no longer serve you. But facing that, working through that, and decreasing that resistance to change is going to be nothing but a benefit for you moving forward, as well as a benefit for those that are closest to you. The final aspect for prompts for Taurus to consider, how can I see my present struggles differently? Taurus sometimes gets so caught up in the present and in challenges that are being presented in the present that they tend to look at them as struggles. They tend to look at them as spinning tires in the mud. This is an idea for you to reframe that and to change that so that you're not looking at it as a struggle, but as it actually really is, as a growth cycle. Very deep, very strong, and something very important for the Taurus to consider. And now for Gemini. I didn't forget about you. Let's talk about some of the prompts for Gemini to work through shadow work. First and foremost, what limiting beliefs am I ready to break free from? Very important and very deep. What's holding you back? What is not allowing you to be your best you? And take those limiting beliefs, dissect them, determine why they're there, and determine how you might get past those limiting beliefs. Another one for Gemini, where am I holding myself back from being fully me? And again, that ties right into limiting beliefs, doesn't it? So very important, very deep, because Gemini tends to hold themselves back based upon experiences as well as, and most importantly, based upon beliefs. So another thing for Gemini to consider, what things in my life are throwing me off balance? Where are they? How are they throwing me off balance? Why am I allowing them to throw me off balance? And how can I change that? And finally for Gemini, what does authenticity mean to me? And how can I move closer to it? And that's deep, and that's going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to be worth it. Because when we look at authenticity itself, it's a very big, broad term. So for the Gemini, a lot of times, they don't even try to address authenticity because it's so broad. And that's what shadow work is all about. Really looking at that, dissecting it, and breaking it down into very simple areas that you do have the empowerment to break through and to change. Last but not least, let's talk about Aries and some of the shadow work prompts that Aries could utilize to benefit themselves and benefit those around them. First and foremost, what emotions am I not allowing myself to feel or to experience? If you're holding back emotions, you're not allowing yourself to feel emotions, again, you're repressing emotions. When we repress emotions, they come out in a lot of different ways, most of the time in an untoward manner for our lives and for our relationships. So it is important to really address that and try to look at what emotions are being repressed and how an Aries might be able to more healthily express them. Another thing for Aries to consider, what assumptions may be holding me back from growing? When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me, right? That's the old saying. So when we look at assumptions, it's most important to blow them out of the water. Assumptions are not healthy for anybody. So it's important to take assumptions, break them down, dissect them, and plow right through them and get to where you need and where you want to be the more genuine person that you actually are. Another area to consider for Aries, what areas of my life do I need more discipline? We all benefit from discipline, right? And self-discipline is most important, just as important as self-love. So what areas of Aries' life might they benefit from adding a little bit more discipline in, and why? Why do I need discipline in this? Well, this happens when I don't practice self-discipline in those areas. So this is what I'm going to do to try to instill and install a little bit more discipline in those areas. And these are going to be the benefits I'm going to gain by allowing that discipline into those areas of my life. And finally for Aries, what are my priorities? And are my actions aligned to them? One thing that you've heard throughout all of this so far is actions, actions, actions. Not only do we need to identify things, we also need to add actions to them in order to make them work, to bring things forward, to allow us to progress. And with Aries, that's most important. You've got to identify your priorities, but along with identifying your priorities, you need to identify the actions that align with those priorities to move you forward. As an example, I'm not an Aries, right? But I am human. I'm going through a human experience in this realm. And so anything that I want to do, I'll write down because I'm a Virgo. However, if I don't take that list and attach actions to each thing on that list and say, I want this, so I'm going to do this, this, and this, then it just becomes a wish list. It doesn't actually benefit me, and I don't actually do anything to actually bring that into fruition. So for every intention we have, we need to have an action. And for Aries, sometimes that can be the hardest, most challenging thing to do. So it's important to take that time out and actually put an action plan together for each one of the priorities that you have in your life. So there you have it, folks. Some shadow work prompts for the 12 different signs. Now, here's the secret to all of this. And you can feel free to let me know in the comments what you think about what I'm about to say. Along with that, let me know in the comments which one of these prompts really hit home with you as it relates to your astrological sign. However, let's talk about all of these different prompts. If you noticed with every one of these prompts for the different 12 different signs, they hit home in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people that aren't related to that sign. And that's the secret to this. Not only can you use this list of 12 different signs to work very specifically on your sign, however, as you went through different prompts for signs that aren't related to you, if it resonated with you, that's something that you can work on as well. And again, it all starts off with getting yourself a ledger, getting yourself a book, whatever you want to call it, getting yourself a book of shadow work, however you want to name it, but working with it and putting down some of these prompts, putting down how it's going to benefit you by changing some of these prompts, but most importantly, what are you going to do? Maybe over here. What are you going to do in order to put an action plan together to get the shadow work moving forward, to take these prompts and not only put them on paper, but along with that, make them a living, breathing thing in your life that you can actively work to change for self-improvement, for yourself. Now, it always comes back to, first and foremost, for self. How is this going to benefit you? How is this going to benefit your own self-care and your own self-love? And then, after you've identified how it's going to benefit you in particular, then you can identify how is this going to benefit the people in my life, the people in my inner circle, my intimate relationships, my friendships, and then my work relationships. How can this help me grow as a person, and how can this make me a better person moving forward? Someone that I'm happy with, someone that I'm content with, right? That's what it's all about. It's about self-improvement. It's about controlling our realm. And this is time for you to start doing that. Do hope you liked the video. If you did, please be sure, like. If you haven't already, subscribe, please. And definitely leave comments. Let me know in the comment section how this actually works for you, how this relates to you and your sign, and how some of the prompts that may not be considered part of your sign really hit home in what you're going to do as an action to help bring that to fruition for yourself, to help and allow yourself to grow and benefit from it. As always, be sure, check out these two videos down here. Be sure to binge watch some of my videos, and inside of the description page, check out my link tree. And I've got links to TikTok, to other social medias and such. Feel free to go on and subscribe to those as well, because obviously it does help me grow as well. And as always, be safe, be well, and be blessed.